Today we saw the market down after a 7-day winning streak. What are your general impressions?
As it stands right now, we just think the market is taking a breather from the sort of run that has generated about 9% in gains just within this month. We think it's about time that investors as well actually pause and just take stock of what has happened and what has really changed from the pessimism that we had just 2 weeks ago to what we had to what's happening right now. Clearly, there's impetus for what's happening. Some pronouncements, some sort of progress on different levels. Those clearly are positive drivers. But I think again, we don't want a situation, as has often been the case in the past, where we just swing from one extreme to another. So for today's performance, I think it's just the market just taking a breather from the sort of gains that we've seen over the last 7 days, as you mentioned.
You know, like you said, there is more optimism. Obviously, the volumes of trade we are seeing is reflecting that. Today we saw huge trades in companies like Guinness and First Bank. And we've seen recently that there have been significant trades in some counters. And particularly the rescued banks, we've seen strong interest in those. And I have to ask you this because I know you're a banking analyst. What are your thoughts on the rescued bank? Because I think with the few things that have happened over the last few weeks, particularly with AMCON and the conviction of former CEO of Oceanic Bank and, of course, the plea bargain deal, which to some extent recapitalizes the bank, there seems to be some optimism and that these banks are a lot more attractive now. What do you say?
In as much as the watchword for the rescued banks before now was that investors were seeking more clarity, I think there's a good case for us not to get ahead of ourselves, because what we've had so far, comments by the CBN governor, are basically giving sort of timeline for expected negotiations between the rescued banks as well as potential buyers. I think the key concern here is that we're yet to see actual details of any deals or of any arrangements, so to say. What would the pricing be? What would, what exactly is going to happen basically between a rescue bank and whoever is coming into it? And as you rightly mentioned, Oceanic Bank appears to be a slightly different case. We're thinking in-house because of the key man risk for that bank. And that's not something that you find replicated in all of the other rescued banks. So in as much as you have significant recovery from Oceanic, from just one person, it's unlikely that you could go to any other of the rescue banks who at the same time have bigger holes relative to Oceanic, if you look at it based on size, and then you're likely to find such easy concentrated recoveries coming from those banks. So I think it's grounds for optimism, but I think the actual delivery is what we'd rather be watching for. Delivery in terms of actual sale of those banks, in terms of convincing shareholders that there will still be value left for them at whatever prices the deals are made. So for rescued banks, I think it's looking better, clearly. It's looking much better. The CBN is much more confident. Right.
And, on the final note, because we have to really wrap up now, very quickly, what's the House take on Dangote Cement and its listing? Do you think it's attractively valued?
Our current price, we think the pricing is a bit steep. Even going by Dangote's own projections, he appears to be quite optimistic, I would say. I mean, just as a case in point.